Park, voice of the Orange, as we've got a lot to talk about, Matt. Football and basketball. Let's start with football, and I guess we'll get what happened last Thursday out of the way. I've never seen anything quite like that. You've been doing this a long time. I mean, have you ever seen things go as wrong as they did so quickly for an SU football team with those 3 pick sixes?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously basically unprecedented, and that's borne out by statistics that you can find anywhere, right? Where college and pro football, you're not seeing guys throw 5 interceptions in a game and 3 of them run back for touchdowns, and that one was lights out pretty early, which I think was deflating in a lot of ways because everybody knew what was at stake in that game and how much was built up to make it a big opportunity for a big road win, which would have been their 3rd in a row and a really big deal. So, you've known since the end of the first quarter, even earlier than that, from last week's game, that you're moving on. And I think that what makes it a little unique is that there's a little more time because of that game being on a Thursday. So Coach Brown's talked about how they spent their time and that type of thing, but they got to get better. They got to clean up some of those things, and obviously heads into another huge game this weekend.
And I know everybody says, it's important to flush it, and we had Fran Brown earlier, and he said, by now it should be flushed, but these are 18 to 22-year-old kids, and I know sometimes that can be easier said than done. Are you concerned at all that this team, might be, there might be any lingering effects from that pit loss, or do you think they've, based on being around them and talking with them during their availability, do you think they've moved on?
I don't know that it has to do with lingering as much as it has to do with legitimate pass protection issues or legitimate failure to catch a ball that was thrown on your hands issues, right? So that if that shows up again this season or, this Saturday, it's not going to be because it's lingering from the pit game. It's going to be because they're not good enough, or just haven't done the right thing. So, in other words, the pass rush gets to them in this game. It's not going to be because it got to them in the pit game,
Yeah.
So I think they've got to go back to the drawing board. They've got a very good quarterback. They have obviously capable pass catchers, but the drops and the interceptions were kind of equal opportunity. It does sound like you're making excuses, but there were a couple fluky ones. We all know that. It was the worst possible outcome given the situation, and easy for me to say, but I think you parse through it as needed, and then you flush it and get ready for this next game because it's not going to help a lot to be thinking back about that one.
Virginia Tech's playing really good football right now. They've won 3 in a row since that controversial loss to Miami. What concerns you the most about the Hokies from a Syracuse perspective?
Well, they do the things good teams do. They run the ball. They rush the passer. So that, number one for me, would be they're just as capable as anybody of putting pressure on Kyle McCord, heating him up. And Kyle obviously has had a tremendous year, but it went sideways for him in that one game. I don't think Kyle personally is shell-shocked nor his confidence shaken, but I think if he's not as effective as we've grown accustomed to him seeing, completing 70% and converting third downs, and then you've kind of lost your offensive identity a little bit to the point where I think that does maybe affect other people. You obviously can't run the ball if you're down 17-0, which was the case in the Pittsburgh game. So they need to stay on schedule. They need everything to click in that way. And if I'm Virginia Tech, I'm coming in and thinking we're going to put as much heat on this guy as possible.
Fran Brown has ruled out Yasin Willis for this game. We know that they're shorthanded at running back right now outside of LaQuinn Allen. Is that a big deal that there's not much depth behind him at the moment, or do you feel like LaQuinn can just carry that workload and that's not a big deal?
I asked him about it this morning, and he's got the coach line, just next man up, Jalen Hart, freshman, et cetera. That's what coaches have to say. I think it's a pretty large deal. I think obviously you have your depth chart for a reason. You send Willis ahead of Jaden Hart for a reason. There are other guys, absolutely. They deserve their chance, and maybe they bust through. We've seen that happen before. But I think you got to be a little careful with LaQuint in terms of his touch counts or whatever. He's a very effective. The Hells Angels have come to Marshall Street, in case you're wondering here. But, you got to have the balancing act of LaQuint Allen being a focal point of your offense. I mean, he needs to have 20, 25 touches, both carries and receptions, and you can't get him hurt. And he's the best blocking running back you have. So, it's a drop-off. I mean, Sin, I don't think, has shown his full capability or played to his potential just yet either. But now he's unavailable, and so you go to the next guy and manage it accordingly.
Is this SU's toughest game outside of Miami rest of the way, in your opinion?
Yeah, I guess so. I would not underestimate the fact that Cal game is going to be difficult. Just the travel alone is not that easy. The Syracuse won at UNLV. That was a big, exciting win that should not be overlooked. These are not layups going on the road in that situation. But, in terms of talent on the roster, I would say it's Miami, then Virginia Tech before you get to the others.
All right, let's transition over to basketball now. 2 exhibition games in the books. It all gets started for real on Monday. Did you take anything out of those 2 exhibition games?
When I look over, every time I look over, Paulie's got his head buried in his phone, and now all of a sudden he's Paulie Wooden. He's got the breakdown. He's going to run a defensive clinic in practice. He's going to get up there and show everybody where they need to be. Ball side, help side.
Steve's got the biggest smile on his face
one
right
pass
now.
away.
That was funny. That was funny.
Yeah, he's a regular Bob Knight up there. He's going to really preach the principles of hard-nosed man-to-man defense. And, I mean, I'm not concerned. I mean, we don't really know what they are. But, these games, they come in, they completely overmatch Division II teams. There's very little to draw out of them for me, other than you get to see who the new people are, what they offer. You get to tinker around, and you know that when the game counts on Monday night, it's not going to be the first time that people were out there in game-like conditions. They'll play much different makeup of who's on the floor and the combinations than what we've seen. They won't experiment to the same degree. Lemoyne can go now, right? But Lemoyne scored 100 in a loss against Cornell. They scored 66 in the first half last night. They're going to come in and chuck a bunch of threes and want to get up and down. And so it'll be a different thing. Obviously, is this an extraordinary lockdown defensive team? Probably not right now, so they've got room for improvement. But every team does on Halloween.
All right. Anything from you, Paulie?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay. I guess my last...
I say this, too,
yeah.
because I listen to you guys all week, and
You're the
you
one.
guys really think it? Yeah. You guys really think it was okay for the starting quarterback of an NFL team to tap out on a play?
I didn't know the circumstances. I didn't see it. I feel less and less okay about it as the week has progressed. I saw the play.
He won't play again this year because of it.
They benched him. I don't know. Like, I thought if he took like a big hit, or if he had like the wind knocked out of him, and he was like, I need. But it was just like
That'd
a play.
be different than wait for the trainers. If that's the case.
Well, right. But so I did not see the play when we first talked about it. After the show, I did see the play. Scrambled around a little bit. I did not feel good about it after I saw the play. But I didn't know if he got like hit hard and was like, I need one play to catch my breath, or landed on the football, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, that was not a good look. My last question to you, basketball question. Who do you think is going to be the 5th starter for the basketball team? So we assume Carlos and Starling and Bell and Lampkin. Do you think it's Donnie Freeman?
For me, it is. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, he's a stud. Put him right in there. I don't know that that's the way Red thinks, but that's what I would do. I'm not a coach, but to whatever extent that I had any input or any thought about it, I put my best players on the floor for as long as they can handle it safely and fill in the gaps from there. So I would come right at people with that group.
All right, same. All right, we see eye to eye on that one. All right, we got the Fran Brown Show tonight, right? 7 to 8 o'clock over at Heritage Hill?
That is correct.
All right. We'll have a good show, Matt, and we'll see you up on the inside the dome on Saturday.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thank you.
All right, voice of the Orange, Matt Park. With that, we'll hit a timeout.